So, how to quick shift. How to quick shift. Okay, well, that's a different matter to what I'm actually going to do today. I'm going to show you how to reduce the throw in your gear stick. So, notice this is standard on a 306. It comes all the way back here, almost the point where it interferes with the handbrake. And it goes all the way forwards over there, which if you're quite tall and so you've got the seat for a long way back, it's actually quite a stretch. So we're going to try and reduce that a little bit. Now there's a couple of ways we could do that. Picture now, I'm going to just pop up. That's a picture of a kit you buy basically and you fit it. It comes with a gear knob and it basically just reduces the throw a little bit because it moves the position. Now there's pros and cons about that. I'm just trying to get this off at the same time. Pros about it, it's quite easy to fit, it's all set up and it's pretty fixed. Once you've fitted it, you don't have to worry about it. Cons are it's difficult often to fit the OEM gear knob back onto it, and it's a little bit cheaply made, but you know, 20 quid, 25 quid, what are you going to moan about? The other option is, if you have a look at my race tractor, 306, is you get like a comp brake, it's like a billet aluminium unit you bolt in here, and then you basically you smash off the original ball joint which sits in here, which is nylon, and it's got a metal one which is much more durable, plus it's adjustable, so you can basically move the gear stick up and down into the position to gain more or less leverage as you need it. The negatives, everyone finds that these gear sticks on the 306 don't actually fit them, despite them being quite expensive, so you have to put the sleeves in and they come loose because the grub screws are rubbish, so you have to modify them, bigger grub screws, or I had to weld mine in the end once I'd been happy with my position. They are very durable though, they'll take a lot of abuse. They're expensive. What are we going to do today? Well, this is just about fulcrums and about leverage. So some people would just cut this off here, basically, and this would reduce this leverage section and would give you a little bit of a quick shift. Makes it a little bit harder to shift gear, but it is a shorter throw. You have to kind of just bodge on the gear stick then. What we're going to do is increase the leverage from this point, the fulcrum point, down. So if the piece that goes on the other side of this leverage point here is longer, then you need less movement in the top here to create more movement in the bottom. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to remove this in a second, and I'm going to show you how. And it's pretty much going to cost you maybe a quid, your own time, maybe a quid in the piece of metal we're going to use, and a welder. If you haven't got a welder, go and ask someone to weld it for you. That can't exactly cost much. Right then, so let's remove it. So, how to remove it? From above, dead simple. We're going to remove those 4 nuts there. They're 10mm nuts, and you just need to pull off your gear knob and this sleeve here. This just pops out, you just pull it out as you just saw me do. So let's start with that, and then we'll go underneath. Now once you've removed those 4 screws and we've removed the gear knob, this in classic form in this car is a little bit bodged, because when we took the old gear knob off, all the plastics fell apart, so we've had to tape it up a bit. You'll notice it still won't come out, and the reason is there's 2 more under here. So you have to remove this trim here. It's pretty simple. You've done half of it already because you've removed those 2 bolts there. You pull out the rear bin, and what you quite put in there, I suppose it's an ashtray officially, and there's 2 Tech screws there. Remove those 2 Tech screws, and this trim here will lift up and slide backwards a little bit to enable you to get to those 2 bolts. Now usually now you can just lift the second piece of trim just out of the way enough just to get a socket or a ratchet onto that and undo those. Otherwise, if you're really keen, there's 1 Tech screw there and 1 Tech screw down there on the left just to pull this out of the way, and then you can really get some good access to that. Otherwise, just leave it out of the way. Right, we just need to get to the underside of that now, which is under there. So jack it up, put it on an axle stand, and let's slide under. So this is us under the car. So this is the gear stick coming down here. That's the shaft going to the gearbox. So it's worth noting here, if you extend this too much, you're going to hit into problems with the exhaust. So you have to be careful with that. You don't need to extend it too much. But we just want to get it off for now. So that's just a 12mm, both ends. There's a nut that side and a bolt on that side. So you can use a ratchet spanner or socket, whatever you choose, just to whip that off. I request of your forgiveness, please. Very sorry. It's actually a 10mm that side. You'll see why in a moment. So it's 10mm that side and a 12mm this side. Very sorry about that. Right, all that's left to do Give it that little wiggle and a shake, and it comes out. There we go. Right, let's take it somewhere we can see it and on my back. So here's the expensive part. I had to go and get that. I didn't have any tube left. It's 10mm in a tube. It should slip over our gear stick just nicely. So we're not even going to need all this. I went to the steel merchants and he just basically, I said, can I have about 100mm of it? And he just cut it off and gave it to me. So lovely, you might have some kicking around and they won't cost you anything. Well, it didn't cost me anything, but I had to go and get it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to cut this here, either with a hacksaw you could use. I'm going to use a grinder. You could use your teeth, but I would find that unpleasurable. So I'm going to use a grinder straight through there. And then we're just going to cut a little bit of sleeve. Is that enough? Probably is enough as it is, to be honest. I might just do that. I haven't worked out how much I'm going to extend it yet. I'm going to have a think about that in a moment. Safety first. On the floor. Foot. Make it nice and clean, the cut. To decide how much to add on. This is nearly 100mm, I think it was 90mm, so I think I'm going to use that. That'll slide on there, that'll slide on there, and that'll give us that extra leverage. I quite like that. First what I'm going to do is I'm going to run a slot down either end, so that I'm not just welding, when I weld this on, not just welding round that way, I'm going to weld up as well. So I'll probably just weld a couple of slots opposite to each other, and then it'll be a bit stronger. Because amazing amount of force you stick one through one of these. So we'll probably be extending it by, that might be too much actually, I only want to extend it by about an inch. So I'll take a little edge off that I think, and then the gap between that will increase by about an inch. That'll be a fair old difference I reckon. An inch is 25mm, give or take, in new money. So I'll just need to take this down by a little bit, and then weld it on. It's like my new workbench. That's hot. Right, we'll just do these couple of the slot. Oh, that's hot. Smells hot once we've ground it. Fun fact. Right, we're going to dip that in some water. Yeah! So, welcome to the office. So this is what we've got. 10mm inner, and this is something like 9.5 or something, so it does slip over quite nicely. And then we've got slots opposite each other. You can use a hacksaw for that, you wouldn't have to have a grinder. For the next bit, you're going to need a welder though. I mean, you could use, I suppose, chemical metal, you could use tape. Tape's not going to work so well. You could be really keen and drill holes if you had a drill, try and drill all the way through and put a bolt through. It's pretty hard drilling through the solid like that, but it's possible. As I said before, I'm going to go for the weld-on approach. So basically it's going to slot on like that, and if you can see, basically what we're going to end up with is about 25mm extension. So from this point here, which is our fulcrum, our leverage point, we're going to increase that by 25mm that way, and that will just reduce the throw that you have to apply to the gear stick. So that's what we're going to do. So what I think we'll do is see if that lawnmower will stop. Just FYI, there's no leniency, like there's no bend in the shaft, in the gear stick. So don't panic about which angle you can put this at, you can just spin it round. So it doesn't really matter how that's going to go. If you've got other vehicles than a 3 or 6, just check on that, because there might be a kink one way and you'll need to follow that. So let's get the welder out. Have to be careful, that is a nylon bush in there. So you need to do it in stages, so you don't melt the nylon bush. And you could try and take it out. Oh, you can. That's hot. There we go. Good call. really done that before, but there we go. It's life, isn't it? Things happen. Wow, that's hot. Okay, let's go and do the old water dip. Ooh, smoking. So that's how it looks. Not bad welding, gasless. Right, now the other piece. Notice I have taken the, there's this plastic section on here which is, you don't really want to touch it, you might break it. But I've cleaned it up and I have taken the rubber off just peels off basically. We don't really want that melting. Right.
Still rather warm, despite this being in a bucket of water. Don't forget the earth, moron. This bit's quite important.
We've got to be careful with heat still here, because there is plastic there. So you might have to do this in stages. Oh, it stinks. Don't breathe that in. Bad idea to breathe that in. So I might just get a bit of water and just pour that on there. Before I die of fumes, before we completely melt the plastic. Right, we're giving it a bit of a clean up. It's not too bad, not the best welds in the world, but neither were they the worst. It's not exactly cosmetic, so let's just give it a paint. There we have it, with the nylon bushes in. So all that's left to do now, put the bits and bobs back on, and bolt it back in. And let's see what difference it's made. It's a good opportunity, maybe we can just stick some grease in there, not copper grease, some nice nylon grease of some sort I can find, because that's looking a bit dry in there. Good opportunity to do that. That is the benefits of those other types, is they come with a metal ball here, not a plastic one, which naturally ends up with a bit of wear in it. So let's do that. So, just a case now of putting this back up in the hole, putting that, lining up with that, and sticking that bolt, which has got some grease on it, in it. Don't really know if I can hold the camera for you while I do all that, but I don't really seal that all well, I apologise. The bolt will only go in one way because of the shaft on it, so keep that in mind. It will take a little bit of persuasion, I expect. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go stick a nut on the other end of one of those, just to hold it up for myself. Right, back in the room. Okay, so I've just stuck one of the nuts on the top there, and I'm just trying to push that bolt through. It'll only go one way, right to left, because of the size of that shaft. There's one hole on the right and on the left. No jokes. There we have it from underneath. So it's not a big bolt, so don't do it up too tight. Notice it's still got clearance between that and the exhaust. We probably could have gone a bit more, but we're only doing a bit of a mild one. There we go. Right, let's just put all this back up top, all the bolts and nuts and bits and bobs back on. Winning! And we're done. So first test drive of it. Ooh, that's nice. Ooh, that's a fair difference now. We get 3 fingers in there, we can only get 2. So we've basically, by 25mm extension from the fulcrum point down, we've reduced the throw by at least 10mm either way. That's interesting. And of course we've reduced it left to right a little bit as well. Oh, that feels really tight, that does. That's nice. Other things you can do to improve your gear change, well, there's that little ball joint at the bottom there. those bushes that we greased up, well, you could replace those. There's a bush down there on the other end of that very long shaft I showed you. This is bolted to. You could replace that. And the gear linkages are the biggest thing. Now there's 3 gear linkages on these BE boxes, and you can replace those for solid linkages basically. Rather than rubber bushes, they make a big difference as well. But that all costs money. This was free. So click like if you liked it. Ask any questions if you think I missed anything out and you need some more help. Otherwise, go make yourself a free quick shift. Winning.